Hey everyone, welcome to Long Game Yoga. I'm Ken. This flow is going to focus on an area that I think has pretty universal desire to focus on, which is the hips. And you know, there's a lot that holds those hips together and keeps them loose, but there's also a lot that can keep them a bit unbalanced and get them tight. We sit a lot. Even our workouts, if you're a cyclist, you're getting tight in a certain direction, you're getting strong in a certain direction, you're not getting strong in other directions. So we're going to focus in on the openness of the hips in this flow. So 2 blocks, 1 strap. Let's start lying down on our back. I'm going to suggest that when you start, you bring the soles of your feet together, come down, or do the opposite, come down and then put the soles of your feet together. And then just put some blocks under the outside of your thighs. And then just settle in for a little bit. So what we're looking for here is, just a very gentle stretch on the inner thighs to start to open up, get a little bit of that external rotation in the femur, the way it sits in that hip socket. And just coming to your breath here. It can be useful maybe to bring one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. See if you can start to slow down the breath, lengthening it out. Our breath is one of those tools that can be so powerful for our yoga practice. It can be a way to make that shift into practice, setting aside all the other stuff we might have going on in our lives. Drawing the air all the way down to the belly, letting the lungs fill up to the collarbones on the inhale, and then taking a nice slow exhale. The other benefit that we get from paying attention to the breath is that we're staying present. We're not drifting away, thinking about what we have to do later in the week, or fill in the blank, right? The dozen other things we might be thinking of over and over again. So just as you start this practice, just relax, let the muscles ease up a little bit, settle heavily down onto the mat, let your legs just be nice and heavy on those blocks. You can take as much time here as you like getting settled. And then when you're ready to move on, we'll carefully bring the legs up through center and then stretch them out in front of us. So have that strap handy. We're going to set up for our reclined mountain pose first. So to start to get a little bit more active, right? That opening pose, very passive. Here we want to really start to engage the muscles of the legs. So think about pushing your thighs down toward the mat, pressing your heels down into the mat, push the big toe mound forward, peel the pinky toe side edge of the foot back. You might feel your kneecaps pull up towards your hips, and then you can point just gently your tailbone toward your heels. So we're creating that nice alignment from the heels all the way up through the crown of the head. Leave the left leg in place, and then go ahead, pull that right knee into your chest. And here what I want you to do is take some circles with the knee. So you're opening that leg out in one direction, doesn't matter what direction. Keep the left leg engaged. And then take some circles in the other direction. Starting to warm up that hip joint a little bit. And then maybe squeeze the leg in tight for a second. And then we're going to take the strap and we're going to bring around the ball of that right foot. And we're going to extend the foot up to the ceiling. So I always recommend letting the leg drop down for a moment to make sure it's straight, right? So you don't want it kind of relaxed. To get it straight, pull the quad muscles to that thigh bone, and then you can start to pull that foot toward the wall behind you. Again, trying to keep that left leg working too, so gently push that heel into the mat. Push into the strap and pull down with the strap. But try not to strain in the shoulders, in the face, in the neck. We want this to be a hamstring stretch. We don't need to add extra tension anywhere else. And then from here, take both sides of that strap into your right hand. With your left arm, you could reach it out to the side just to kind of anchor you, or you could give your hand maybe on your hip. And then we're going to open that right leg out to the right. Now go as far as you can without starting to tip over, right? So leave both shoulder blades on the mat. Feel that inner thigh stretch. And again, we're starting to open up into that hip, getting that bone to rotate outward. You could try pointing and dialing your toes down towards the floor a little bit more. Notice what that does. One more round of breath. And then we'll inhale that leg up through center. You can let that strap come off, and then slowly, with control, let that leg lower down to the mat. And once the heel comes down to the mat, you can let the feet drop out to the side for just a second. And notice the difference. So I like to kind of bang on about that, because everything we do does leave an imprint for us. So we want to just pay attention. What does that right side, particularly the hip, feel like compared to the left side? That's some of the work that we're getting out of our practice, right? So let's find that Tadasana shape again. And then when you're ready, pull the left knee in. Keep that right leg nice and straight. And then start taking some circles with that left thigh. So you're really sweeping that knee in circles here. You can go one direction and at some point change direction. And then give it a squeeze, and we'll bring that strap around the ball of the left foot this time. Straighten that leg. And here you want to adjust the strap. Make sure it's around the ball of the foot, so it's not sitting in the middle of the arch, it's not on the heel. It's right under the base of the toes. And then just settle into this stretch. And here's where the breath can be a really handy tool again. So if you take a nice inhale and then slow down the exhale. And as you exhale, you may feel that stretch getting a little deeper. And the reason why is when we take an exhalation like that, it sends a signal to the nervous system that it's okay to relax a bit. Right? You'll notice that if you're ever trying to calm yourself down, like take a few deep breaths because it relaxes you. It does the same thing here on the mat for us. And at the end of your next breath, we're going to bring both ends of the strap into the left hand. You can weigh down that right side of your body. And then we'll slowly open that left leg out to the side, keeping everything else in place. Both shoulder blades are still on the mat. And if you start to tip, that's fine. Just back off a little bit. With that left leg out to the side, again, see if you can dial the toes down toward the floor. So you can see that little rotation there. Keep the legs straight. Keep those thigh muscles engaged. We'll take one more round of breath. And then you go ahead, inhale that leg back up through center. You can ditch that strap. And then slowly lower the left leg to the mat. Again, when the leg comes down, let those feet just drop out to the sides. And see if you brought a sense of balance from side to side. From here, go ahead, pull both knees into your chest. Curl up into a little ball. Maybe make some side-to-side movements here, or some up and down the spine movements, or some circles. And we're going to make our way to our first tabletop. So have the blocks handy, have that strap handy. We're going to set up our tabletop. And as we always do, let's try and take up a lot of space with our fingers here. I really think that as we engage the fingers, as we press down, gripping into the mat, it starts to activate the muscles of the forearms. It helps to keep our grip strength where we want it. So I've got my shoulders over my wrists, I've got my hips over my knees, the toes are pointing straight back so the ankles aren't spilling out. And then we're going to move through cows and cats. So for cow, just drop your belly, lift the gaze, lift the hips. And then for your cat, start to round into your spine. Eventually, the head drops. And you can start to flow between these two different poses at your own pace. And see if you can really feel the whole spine articulating here. So you're moving through one vertebrae after another after another. You're making this nice wave shape. This is also starting to wake up the torso a little bit. And if there's any spot that feels good, you can just hang out there. There's no need to keep moving through it the whole time. If you found something where you feel like you can squeeze a little bit of extra juice out of it, you might even look out over one shoulder, look out over the other shoulder, come back through center. And then when you're ready, we're going to kickstand the right foot off of the mat. And then I'm going to line up my left foot, the inner arch basically, with this right knee. I'm going to reach the left arm up to the ceiling. So just this modified side plank. But again, we're getting that external rotation of the hip and the right hip here. Then you can leave that left foot on the mat if you like. If you want to lift it up, you could float it up. Just pushing through that lifted heel, keeping those leg muscles engaged. And then you can lower the foot, unwind, and we'll just take it to the other side here. So this time we're kickstanding that left foot off the mat, lining up the right inner arch with the left knee. You can reach that right arm up to the ceiling. And again, it's your choice. You can stay right here. Again, we're getting into the hip, which is what we want here. If you want to go ahead, float up that right leg, that could feel nice too. That starts to engage these outer hip muscles. Push through the lifted heel. Keep pushing the mat away with that left hand, reaching the right fingers up to the ceiling or the sky if you're outdoors. Then go ahead, drop the foot, drop the hand. We're going to find a child's pose. So separate the knees a bit, bring the big toes together, sink those hips down and back. And if child's pose doesn't work for you, and it doesn't work for everybody because of knees, you can leave the hips higher, or you could just sit in any way that's comfortable, just to take a breath or two. If you're in child's pose, crawl those arms as far forward as they're going to go. Lift the hips, tuck the toes. We're going to straighten into our legs and come to our first downward facing dog. And every time we come to down dog, particularly the first time, we want to emphasize that the spine is nice and long. So think about pushing the hips up and back. So from the wrist crease all the way to the sit bone, so you're getting as long as you can. And you can bend the knees as deeply as you like to get that length in the spine. You can leave the knees bent. You could bend one knee, bend the other, walking out your dog. Or when you're ready, maybe start to straighten into the legs. But we do want to emphasize the spine at first. We'll take another round or two of breath here. You can also think about rolling your biceps forward, or spinning them forward, getting that external rotation in the upper arms. See if that feels comfortable. Sometimes it's nice to come up high onto the toes, lift the hips up and back a little more, drop the heels. And then from here, we're going to roll forward to our plank. So we're not going to be here for a super long time, just long enough to dial it in. So push through the heels, get long from the heels through the crown of the head. Try not to let those hips sink or pike. If this is challenging, you can always drop your knees to the mat as well. And then we'll lower all the way down to the mat. Elbows graze the ribs on the way down. We'll keep the hands by the low ribs. And we're just going to set up for a back bend here, real gentle. Start with your feet. Press the tops of your feet into the mat. Kneecaps are lifting. I'm spinning the inner thighs up toward the ceiling. It's It's a real subtle movement, but it helps to broaden across the low back. And then inhale, head, neck, and chest up off the mat. Pin those elbows together. Roll the shoulders back. Pull the navel to the spine. And then exhale, forehead comes down to the mat. We're going to make our way back to down dog. So you can push up through a tabletop if you like, or you can walk the feet in. Push up through a plank or a modified plank. And then the hips come up and back. And we're in our down dog again. Push the hips up and back a little more. And then looking forward, we're just going to walk our feet up to our hands. Inhale into a halfway lift. So this is our Ardha Uttanasana. Uttanasana is a forward fold. Ardha means half. So we're halfway lifted. Bring a little more weight into the front of the feet. So don't just sink back in the heels. Bring that weight forward. And then think about getting the spine nice and long here. Pull the heart forward. Feel those back muscles fired up here. And feel your hamstrings stretching and strengthening. And then exhale, fold all the way over. If you want to separate the feet a bit, grab opposite elbows and sway the torso. You could go ahead and do that. And then if you did that, we'll just release the hands to the mat. And on our inhale, come up with a flat back. Hands come to heart center. Tadasana. So again, just think about for a moment that alignment from the heels through the crown of the head. You're getting nice and long, and you're stacking the shoulders over the hips, over the heels. We're going to take a half sun here. So inhale the arms up. Exhale, swan dive to that forward fold. Inhale back into that halfway lift. Exhale, fold over. Inhale, root down through your feet as you lift the torso. Hands come to heart center. We're going to take one sun salutation here, Surya Namaskar A. So inhale the arms up. Exhale, hinge and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Keeping that lift, let's plant our hands. We're going to step back to plank or modified plank. And on this one, we can lower either all the way down, or if you feel ready and you want to do a chaturanga, you can lower halfway down, catch yourself in chaturanga, or lower all the way down. If you're in chaturanga, the toes slide back and your back bend is upward facing dog. Hands and tops of the feet are the only things touching the mat. And then you come up and over the toes and back to down dog. If you want to stick with low cobra, that's a totally cool choice too. Finding this down dog and the length in this down dog. Wrist crease to sit bones get long, but then sit bones to heels start to get long too. As you look back, you really shouldn't see your heels so that your feet are straight. On your next inhale, look forward. We're going to step the right foot to the right thumb. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot and plant my left heel and then heel toe this front foot in so that my heel lines up with the middle of my back inner arch. And then have a block handy behind that front foot to start. And we're going to bring our forearm up to that thigh bone. So we're setting up for this side angle. A couple things we want to just double check. Make sure the knee is right over the ankle. That's a nice safe spot for the knee. We've got a nice deep bend in that knee. If you need to widen your stance or lengthen the stance, you can do that. But again, we've got this nice deep rotation happening in this front hip. And then you can go ahead and lift that left arm up to the ceiling. Keep the back leg working. So I'm pulling those quad muscles to the bone. We'll take another round of breath here. And then we're going to see if we can keep the legs as is and just lift the torso. Finding our warrior one, our Virabhadrasana one. Looking out over the fingers of that right hand. Double checking that you can see the big toe of your right foot. That'll tell you that the knee's not collapsing inward, which we don't want. You can just use those muscles on the outer leg to pull it open. Back leg is still straight. Maybe sink a little more deeply into this lunge. Try not to grip the mat with your toes. On your next inhale, Straighten into that front leg. So we're setting up for our triangle pose, Trikonasana. So when you're ready, reach that right arm up and out over that front leg. Hand can come down to the block behind your leg. It can come to the leg itself, maybe to the inner part of the leg. You can lift that left arm up to the ceiling. Little tip, if you've ever got something going on with the shoulder, you can just take a half bind with that arm. I tend to get some opinions from that shoulder, so I'll take the half bind here. But regardless, try and roll that left shoulder back. Keep the legs straight. From here, if you did lift that left hand, let's bring it to the hip. Let's rebend this front leg. We're going to take our block with us. We're going to set up for a half moon. So you bring that block out maybe a foot or so in front of the right foot and maybe a little off to the right. And then just float the torso forward. That left leg is lifted and the toes are pointing at the long edge of the mat. You can lift that left arm up to the ceiling or the sky. Keep the breath flowing. Maybe get a little lighter on your fingertips if you want to throw in some balance here. You could do that. And then we're going to bring the hand to the hip, hand to the block, find the back edge of the mat. And then we're going to take the block to the inside of that front leg. Coming back to that side angle shape. This time you're pressing the arm into the leg. So it's a little different sensation. Another way to engage the muscles of the hip. Nice. And then when you're ready, you can look down, move the block out of the way, frame the front foot, take a vinyasa. Inhaling up, exhaling back. So we've done all that on the one side. We're going to get ready to do that on the other. So when you're ready, we're going to look forward, stepping the left foot to the left thumb, pivot and plant that right heel, have that block handy behind you. And then we're going to start forearm on that left thigh, getting ready for our side angle. And here you just make whatever little fine-tuning adjustments you need to your stance. We're spinning the torso open, stacking the ribs so the right ribs stack over the left. Keep reaching. Maybe sink a little more deeply. And notice how much work the legs are doing here. And they're each in very different shapes, but boy, they're working. You'll notice that as you inhale the torso up, Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2 on this side. Again, making sure we're trying to stack the knee over the ankle, making sure you can see your big toe on the left foot. Try not to let the shoulders creep up. Try and let them relax. Keep that torso spinning open to the long edge of the mat. We'll take one more round of breath. And on your inhale, straighten that front leg. We're reaching the left arm up and out as far as you can go. And then we're hinging at the hip here, right? So this hand is coming behind us. You can start with the right hand on the hip, lift it up to the ceiling if that's okay on your shoulder. And there's a twist here. So the legs are straight. We've got this nice external rotation in the left leg at this point. And then we're twisting. So from the belly button, then the sternum, then the collarbones, we're just gently spiraling out. If there's a wall behind, like right behind you, you could just imagine leaning that right shoulder into the wall. Keep everything nice and strong here. And then if you lifted the arm, we're going to bring it down to the hip. Bend into that front leg. We're setting up for half moon on this side. So when you're ready, hop that block out in front of you. Float the torso forward. Lift the right leg. It should be, the foot should be about hip height. You can go ahead and reach that right arm up to the ceiling. We're opening out toward the long edge of the mat. Keep the breath flowing. Keep pushing through that lifted heel. Stacking the shoulders. Nice. And then the hand comes to the hip. We're going to carefully bend into that front leg, find the back edge of the mat. And then we're bringing that block to the inside of that left leg. Setting up once again for side angle here. You can reach that arm up to the ceiling. And think about sealing off the pinky toe side edge of that right foot. So you want to have this nice connection there. We don't want to be collapsing in. One more round of breath. Nice. And then we'll unwind. You can move that block out of the way. Frame your front foot to step back to plank. You're all set for a vinyasa if you'd like. Otherwise, you can just head back to your down dog. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. Take stock here. See how it feels. You know, we did those standing poses on both sides. Hopefully the sides are feeling balanced and symmetrical here. Hopefully it feels open on both sides. Come back to the breath. And then from here, let's look forward. We'll bring our feet to our hands. You can step, you can float, you can hop. Inhale brings you to that flat back again. Nice halfway lift. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold over. And on the inhale, hinge at the hip. Lift the torso, hands come to heart center. So, what I want to kind of finish with is taking that external rotation of the hips that we've been working on, and we're going to put it on a standing balance. So we're going to play around with our tree pose, our Vrikshasana. So let's start off just finding our Tadasana. And so one of the things that we want to do in Tadasana, you know, we've got this sense of grounding down through the feet and feeling a sense of lightness up above. So this is where I think a little bit of visualization can be helpful, right? So picture there's a little cord right at the crown of your head, and it's just lifting you up a little bit. So you feel the sense of lightness. And then with your feet, imagine that you could kind of push or exhale a little bit of just a sense of energy. And I don't mean it like in a woo-woo way, but just imagine pushing down through your feet some roots or some energy, like I said, so that sense of extending down beneath your feet. And that helps, I think, just keep you grounded. So from here, we're going to start by opening out that right leg to the side. So you can swing the knee out, and again, we're getting that external rotation of the hip. Firm up the left hip so we're not doing this. And you can leave your heel right on the inside of the ankle. And this is a perfectly good tree pose. So you can stay right here, or if you want to, you could lift the sole of the foot to the calf, to the knee, to the upper thigh, wherever is comfortable for you. Just gazing at some point that's not moving. And balance can be tricky. So I've got a carpet here under my mat, which makes it a little trickier. Nice. And then when you're ready, you can bring that knee forward, maybe straighten the leg, and then set it down. And so with balance, you know, some days you're going to have good balance and it's going to feel nice and stable. Other days, for reasons that are completely mysterious, good luck. You're not going to find your balance. Doesn't matter. All we want to do is just concentrate on what we're doing. If we're tippy, it's fine. If we're solid as a rock, that's fine too. This time we're going to be standing on the right leg. So find that Tadasana. And then when you're ready, dial out that left knee. You can bring the heel to the inner ankle. And then again, your choice. You can stay right here. You can start with the hands on the hips. You can start with hands at heart center. You can lift the sole of that foot up somewhere along the leg. Once it gets up, again, think about pushing that right hip inward a little bit so that we're not sinking down into the joint so much. Hands come to heart center. Again, think about getting light through the crown of the head. Nice. Keep breathing. I suppose if you want to reach your arms up, grow your tree, you could do that. My ceiling's a bit low here, so I have to spread my arms a little wide. We'll bring hands back to heart center. If you moved them, pull in that front leg, straighten it, and then just shake it off, side to side. Awesome. Good job, everyone. From here, we're just going to make our way down onto the mat. So you could just If you want to just separate your feet, point the toes out a little bit, and just lower into a squat, you can do that. And then the hands come down, and we're just going to take a forward fold to start to wind things down. So let's come back to that Baddha Konasana shape when we bring the soles of the feet together. This time we're doing it sitting up. So what I like to do is I like to hold my feet like I'm holding a book. Hands on either side of the tops of the feet. Knees are dropping out to the side. Inhale to lengthen through the spine again, and then exhale, fold forward. Here, if you want to, you can start to let that spine round a bit. You can start to let go of those longer breaths if you were doing that as part of your flow. Notice how your inner thighs feel. You know, we worked that area a bit. If you want to add a little bit of extra stretch here, you can just use your elbows to press your shins down toward the mat a little bit more. It doesn't have to be much. Just a little, you'll start to feel that pull, that pressure, that stretch. Nice. And then when you're ready, bring your hands to the outside of your knees. Go ahead, close them up. We're going to make our way down onto our back. Plant the feet. And just for a moment here, relax. We're going to finish up with a twist. So when you're ready, go ahead, cross that right leg over the left leg, and then scoot the hips over to the right. Let the knees drop down to the left. I like to let my knees land on a block so that my shoulders can stay on the mat. It also makes this a little bit more of a restorative type of pose. And then we're getting a little bit of opposition here, a little counter to what we were doing with the hips. So there's a little bit of inner rotation here if you've crossed the legs like this. So just let everything relax, everything melt. Try not to hold any tension anywhere at this point. If you find you are, you can just relax, let it go. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring the knees back up through center. We're going to uncross, recenter the hips on the mat. This time it's the left leg crossing the right. Hips are scooting off to the left. Knees are dropping down to the right. Maybe that left arm comes out to the side. And you can look wherever it's comfortable. Maybe up at the ceiling, maybe out over that left arm. I'm watching the morning sunlight hit the trees outside my window. And just getting heavy here. And then when you're ready, we're bringing the legs back up through center, uncross, and then go ahead, pull both legs into your chest. We're coming back to that tight little shape, curling up. If there's some other pose that would feel nice as a way to set yourself up right before your Shavasana, if you want to take a happy baby or something, you can do that. A full body stretch, you can do that. And then just set yourself up for your Shavasana. And I always like to offer people, 5 minutes or so. You can just let the video run out and stay as long as you like. Just let everything relax. The deeper you can relax and rest right now, the more the benefits of that practice are going to just kind of fill the body and settle in. So if, again, any comfortable pose, just give yourself that permission to rest deeply for a few minutes. I mean, how often do we get to do that during the day? So let's take advantage of it while we can. Anyways, I hope that flow worked for you. It's just a way to get into the hips, get into that external rotation of the hips, which is going to keep them limber, keep them strong in different directions. The hip is a joint that it can move in a lot of directions, but that mobility comes at the expense of some stability, right? You can move that bone around in the joint. So we do want to pay attention and strengthen those muscles that surround it in different alignments. So hopefully that worked for you. If you liked that flow, go ahead and you know what to do. Hit the the like button. You can subscribe, that way you won't miss any flows. And hey, if there's anything that you want to see here on the channel in terms of a flow or a part of the body we want to focus on a little bit with our yoga, go ahead, just leave it in the comments. Thanks for joining me. I hope to see you back on the mat.